Owls Show, the Owls Who Live Sports. We're happy to be here as always in Miller's Owl House on what is it night? Wednesday night.
Saturday,
Wednesday, whatever I was going to say. I'm not sure.
Chuck hasn't left in a couple months.
Yeah, I'm stuck in this seat. I've been here forever. So happy to be here with my co-host, Mr. Robert Kennedy. Everybody say hey to Robert. And a big hooty hoo to all the Owl fans out there.
Hooty hoo!
Hooty hoo. We got a lot to talk about KSU this week. We are not going to have an athlete on with this week because we're going to have an extended discussion about what's happening with KSU and them joining Conference USA. So we want to get the facts from a lot of good people in the know about what's happening at KSU. But first, we're going to start with a little wrap-up of what happened this week in KSU sports. Robert, lead the way.
Well, I'll tell you this. I said something last week about our soccer girl winning ASUN Player of the Week, and we followed that up with a local girl, Macy Rainwater, following it up with another ASUN Player of the Week. And she is actually a local yokel. She went to North Cobb Christian. So.
Oh, wow. That's very local. That's local. That's about 3 miles from here.
Correct.
That's good. And they had a big win, 6-1 over Stetson, wasn't it?
Correct. And she scored 2 goals in that game.
Scored 2 of this. Any assists or?
No, not that I read, but 2-goal games are hard to come by.
A 1-goal game is hard to come
yes,
by,
and
that 6 is about as many as they've scored. Probably the most goals they've had in one game in a while.
Six, there's got to be a lot going wrong for the other team, not just right for your team.
Absolutely. So we also had some volleyball action this week. We went 1-1. The girls lost their 5th volleyball match of the year, which is a little hard to believe, to North Florida, I believe. They lost 2-3 in their match, but they also won at Jacksonville State, beating them 3-1. So still on the climb. Last I heard, they're in the top 30, 35.
Yeah, they were like 34th or something.
34, 35 in the country. So good on the Lady Owls volleyball team. Still continue to do well and look forward to see where they go in tournaments, which are coming up soon.
Yes, sir.
So what happened in golf?
In women's golf, we came in 2nd place.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, second is really good. We came in 2nd behind Sam Houston. Cameron Nielsen paced the Owls with a 4-under to take 3rd place in the overall. But, 2nd place in this particular competition, you had Indiana, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Middle Tennessee, Santa Clara. I think everybody plays golf in California, right?
I think they do.
So,
when the earth's not shaking.
Well, that's just an extra way for maybe your putt to go in.
Like on Caddyshack.
Yeah. Best day ever.
The best day ever, yeah. So,
team's looking good.
Yeah, everybody's looking good. Is that all the sports we have from this past week?
That is all I have, except for, of course, the overtime victory.
Yes, against the what's the Larry the engineer doing? Get Carrick, yeah. Against who was it we beat last week?
We beat Kentucky,
Eastern Kentucky. Yep.
And so. I actually called the Kennesaw Mountain high school football games, and guess who was there?
Who was there?
A guy in a purple jacket walking around looking at as many players as he could.
Guy in a purple jacket?
Yeah, Eastern Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
So, hey, we got to travel down there. We might as well
do some scouting while we're here.
So
they looked at Kennesaw Mountain. Did you get to talk to him? Or
I did not. He was on the other sideline, and, there was a chance that once people saw him, there's a few people that saw Garrett, and Garrett's pass holder is an Owls. So I tried to encourage Garrett to roll with it, just start walking around and saying, how much does that kid bench? What's his 40 time? Just start throwing things out there. People will figure Garrett's the guy in charge.
Yep. Everybody welcome Carrick Martin back to the show. Carrick's here for us today. Big hooty hoo for Carrick. So Robert was just talking about he calls the ball games at Kennesaw Mountain High School, and that Eastern Kentucky's coach was walking around scouting.
Or possibly a scout.
Possibly the Mustangs.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. How much does KSU scout the local talent?
Well, 70+% of our football team is from Georgia.
70%?
Yeah.
I know a lot of the players came from Cherokee
is
County,
from,
right?
Alabama.
Uh-huh.
Another percentage is from Tennessee. So we do have players from all over, but
Mostly Georgia stuff.
mostly Georgia. Yeah.
That's great. So Carrick is on to talk to us a little bit about the NIL rules, the new name, image, likeness rules that came out today. So Carrick, if you can, update us on NIL as it revolves around KSU.
Well, first off, let me give background to anybody that may be watching. But NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. And this was precipitated by a lawsuit against the NCAA by a UCLA basketball player named Ed O'Banion.
I remember
Correct.
Ed O'Banion.
He had a brother, the O'Banion brothers.
Yeah. Well, Ed won the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And the NCAA had to change rules so that the athletes can monetize their performance in some way, shape, or other. So the schools, no, I can't. I have to take that back. Alumni and friends can organize to set up collectives to pay players, and you can have businesses pay players. In this case, the Owls I'm in a group that's setting up a group called the Owls Collective, and we're going to raise money for NIL for Kennesaw State University athletes. So, as you can imagine, rules like this are changing fairly rapidly. At first there was going to be this wall between the university, and I know anybody's just listening can't see my hand gestures, so excuse me. But
It's all right. You can watch it on
They
the
can
video
watch,
later.
too. They're watching.
yeah,
you.
so there's supposed to be a wall between the athletic department and the NIL organization, and the wall came down partway today. The university can help NIL organizations raise money. So coaches can appear at NIL fundraisers. Coaches can ask people to donate to NIL events. Coaches can ask, solicit people to come to, like, the golf tournament that the Owls Collective NIL is having on Thursday, November 17th. So it's I'm reading through it now. This is just a summary.
How big are we talking about? I mean, when understanding it as well as you do, the idea that the coach can say, "Man, I really need you to, give us a contribution." I mean, that's pretty high. I mean,
Yeah, yes, it is. But you got to remember too that there's a question of how big the pot is. So
how big the pot's allowed to be?
Well, that's a question. Can you grow the pot, or is the University of Georgia
Only,
going to get
only in California can you do that.
Yeah, legally. But
No pun intended.
could there be University of Georgia raise $10 million a year for football? So if they ask the donors to start giving extra money to the NIL, will that be $10 million plus $1 million plus $2 million? So that would be a growing situation. Or is it going to be, okay, we're getting $10 million to give to the NIL, and all of a sudden the university's share of it goes to $8 million, and then $2 million to the NIL. So there's
Gotcha.
a limited pot, and it's always a great question if you have a university that's going through a fundraising campaign or something like that. Do I want my best donor tied up, given to the NIL when he should be given to this building? And
Well, and maybe in some cases, and I'm just making stuff up right now, but it's what I do well, says Chuck. If you are at a university that already has a very large war chest,
Like at Texas A&M.
whichever school, we can throw them out because they're consistently number one or in that top five. But really, any of these top 50 programs where every year they have money left over, maybe one of these universities says, we don't want any donations this year. We want everything to go with NIL, and then we'll go back to normal next year.
well, I think hypothetically that is possible, but they're going to want to see a return on their money.
Sure.
I think you would have to ask that. Allegedly, every football signee at the university, of Texas A&M this year, is going to get $1 million spread over 4 years. Are their fans satisfied with the performance of Texas A&M this year?
I would say not.
So
I'm guessing no.
So there's a lot of dynamics on that, but there were dynamics before. I could tell you that a university that I went to, not Kennesaw Junior College, but that players got paid. This allegedly got paid by coming out of a game and fans would palm money to them, shake their hands and palm money. I heard a story today about a shoebox. That there was a shoebox in an athlete's dorm room, and when he got there, it was full of money, and periodically throughout the year, it'd be filled with money again.
Refilled.
And, so they were getting paid. As somebody said, it's just taxable now.
Yeah.
I think you also saw that there was one coach that had a temper tantrum this year, and it was alleged that maybe he had a really good system to getting his players paid, and other people didn't, so he had an advantage. And so there was a big squabble this summer.
I think I remember something about
Yeah.
that. So let me ask
That
you
was
this.
all alleged, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
Nothing,
Everything's alleged. Everything's
nothing
alleged.
that I know for sure. Is just something that happened. So
When, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. When an athlete is going to get $1 million, does the NIL organization, subsidiary, whatever, however we want to class, do they take the taxes out? Like, we're going to go donate $1 million to this person, and then you actually only hand them $700,000, and we've taken care of his taxes, or are we counting on a 20-year-old kid to be able to pay the taxes?
well,
a year
that's
later?
one of the great problems. Technically, you can do it either way,
Right.
but it has to be reported. And so financial literacy, in fact, it says permissible activities under interim policy NCAA rules. It's educational sessions for student athletes include financial literacy, taxes, entrepreneurship. So, yes, everybody is aware that the student athletes have to be responsible, and it has to be communicated to them.
Gotcha.
Is there a can they teach a class on that?
Yes.
Is that being done at KSU?
I believe so. I know they have access, I'm told, to Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. It's an online situation, not a class.
Okay.
I know they have a class for NFL rookies.
Yeah.
That is, very similar. Hey,
Yeah.
we don't know if you've ever had 50 cents in your pocket, but this is how
Yeah.
you need to do something.
So,
You got to teach them that. So if I'm going to Kennesaw Business Association after hours event tomorrow night, as I approach these local business owners, what's the best way for me to get them involved with KSU? Giving them $500?
you want KSU, when you say involved with KSU, you got to understand that they can give $500 to the athletic department, and that's a good way to get involved.
Okay.
Or you can give $500 to NIL, but those are separate organizations.
So they can either support the school or they can support the individual player.
Or they can give money to both. But
But if we found one guy that we liked and said, hey, we want to try to raise some money for him, is it best to get cash or is it best to get services, or does it matter? Like, I know you provide golf for one of the female golfers, right?
well, no, we actually paid her cash.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But can they do that? Can they,
Yeah,
can a
they
restaurant?
a restaurant can give them meals,
Yeah.
but they have to, the normal tax accounting situation would apply, but they can give them meals, yeah. But they have to sign an agreement and get it approved by the athletic department.
Ahead of time.
Ahead of time.
Supposed to, yeah.
Supposed to.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a formal contract between
Yes.
not the athlete, but the athletic department
No.
and the local
It's
business.
a formal contract between the athlete and the business.
The athlete itself.
But the athletic department has to
Oversee
be
it.
aware it and oversee it and
Okay.
advise the student athlete if it's a onerous or a bad situation.
Yep. All right. Well, hopefully we wouldn't put them in an onerous situation.
Well, but people are.
Absolutely. I'm giving
they're-
$500. Man, you know what I really want? No,
Yeah.
you're just donating money. You don't get them for your kid's birthday party or anybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. How was the game Saturday? We didn't even get to make the game.
Well, it was very exciting. We did well in the first half. We came out second half, and Tennessee Tech was fired up in the second half, and they pulled ahead with about 22 seconds left
In the game?
in the game. They pulled ahead, and we hit 2 long passes when we got the ball back, and at 6 seconds left, we kicked a field goal to tie the game.
And send it into our
And
third
send it
overtime of the
into
year.
overtime. So that was quite exciting. So it's about to wear me out.
I don't know if you
All
heard
this
this, Robert.
excitement.
But I talked earlier with Carrick and Garrett over there that KSU's played more football than anybody else in the country. No other team has played 3 overtimes this year.
Overtime.
We're 2-1 in overtimes, and we do not go in overtime this week.
No, we are not going in overtime.
Well, I don't know. We're playing Charleston Southern, the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers. You know, it's so funny.
I think they're having a difficult year.
They're 1-6, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I don't know if it was Garrick or somebody. One of our fans of the week came in and told us, because we asked him what's it like to travel to other places, and I think it was Will actually, that said the only bad place I've ever been was Charleston Southern. Said the fans were the most rude he's ever been around.
Well, the way the situation was set up, I've been there, and the student section was right behind our bench, so it was
A little loud.
and a little pointed.
A little bit. were there
Until we got way ahead, and then it was vacant.
everybody left? Were they throwing things or
No, it
like
was
they did
just-
at was it Tennessee
You know,
last year? Was throwing stuff at Lane Kiffin?
yeah, mustard bottles, but
Yeah.
every college student thinks they're witty.
Yeah.
That's probably not a surprise to y'all. but-
I've got a friend, Tom Bailey, who he told me this one time, and I'll never forget it. He said, "You know the guy at the golf tournament who the second the guy swings,
You're the man."
That guy thinks he's doing what everybody else wants to do. He doesn't realize that we've all chosen not to be that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And it's just him.
Yeah.
I'm not fond of people like that.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
You the man.
Yeah.
Oh, did I
Get-
start? Did
get-
I start in your backswing? Sorry.
Here,
Get in
let me
the
do the
get in the
wave.
hole. Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, appreciate you coming on, Carrick,
right.
and talking to us a little bit about
Absolutely.
NIL and what's going on, and we look forward to hearing. I like basketball starts next week. We got a lot of good stuff
November
going on.
the 7th, saw they had Owl Madness on the campus green today. and I
Today at
went
5
to that
o'clock.
for a few
Did
minutes
you?
and
Yeah.
talked to some players, talked to the
That's
coaches.
that's next Monday, a week from Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to go. Well, you know, the Georgia Tech KSU baseball exhibition game.
Correct.
It was supposed to be this Sunday. Is now this Friday night at 6
Oh, because of the rain.
because
they
of
moved it?
anticipated rain. So there were a little rents in my plans, but I think I could still go. I'm going to find out tomorrow.
Well, you can certainly go to the ball game.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you
messed you up going to the Falcons game, didn't it?
Yeah, it messed me up going to the Falcons game because somebody offered me tickets. I said, no, I've already committed to KSU baseball. So it is what it is. Falcons football is probably a lot better to watch from the sofa than it is live.
Well, it could
unlike KSU football,
Yeah.
the bigger and better university.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
You like that tagline?
Bigger and better?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly smarter.
I don't know about that, but bigger and better.
We're certainly smarter.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and you both being KJC grads, we know that's
We
true.
have
Our
reached-
2.4 GPA.
Yeah, take that. Yeah. I was in the presidential investiture. Take that. 2.4 GPA.
Wow.
You can't even spell that last word he used.
That is true.
Boom.
Investiture.
I wasn't even going to try to enunciate it.
Yeah. Well,
They actually gave me a speaking line.
I know you did that last
Yeah.
week, right?
Yeah.
Last Thursday or whatever.
Have I brought that up again recently?
No, just now.
Yeah.
You want to read? You want to read it?
Only 4 times in the last hour and a half.
You want to read your script again, Karen?
Yeah, the KSU Owls Alumni Association vows to nurture positive relationships between our alumni, our graduates, and the larger community that our institution serves.
That's all we want to do here, isn't it?
It is, but
Yes.
you know, can you find a better person than Carrick to read that? You
No.
know,
No.
When he's at KSU, you know, we would like, you know,
Yes.
It comes
friends,
off well.
Romans.
Carrick
That's your
Martin,
Yeah.
the silver-tongued devil, better known as Maynard G. Krebs.
Yep. All right.
Thanks for being with us.
All right. Thank y'all.
Send Mr. Rich over. We're going to talk to him. Hooty hoo. A big hooty hoo for Carrick Martin, ladies and gentlemen.
If you don't clap for yourself, who will?
Absolutely. I
Us.
think I'm the funniest person I know. So that's why I keep making jokes.
I guess so. Thanks, Garrett. So, pretty cool stuff about NIL.
Absolutely. You know, it's a very uncharted territory. You know, I said something earlier and everybody was laughing because they figured I was making a joke. But, you know, when the NCAA first came up with this, or were forced to come up with this, you know, you have to start out like this, and then after a year and a half where you see where the abuse is happening and everything else, well, then you kind of tweak your rules a little bit.
You got to tweak.
This is one of our first tweaks. I'm sure there's a big one coming.
It was a week of tweak. Well, you know, we've said all along that this can't stay the way it is. There have to be laws in place, and that's kind of where they're getting to be.
Because, like I told you before, there's a fifth-string quarterback at USC who might have been promised $1 million and no scholarship. Sorry, I don't have a scholarship for you. Absolutely, that is the hoot seat. It's the
Rich
hoot
is back
seat.
in the hoot seat. Let's do a commercial before we get into talking with Rich. Let's do Bearcat.
Bearcat?
Throw these on.
Do you need
Modern
a
Image is a
delivery?
locally owned document
Go now,
and photograph
please.
scanning
Bearcat
company
Express
that
has
helps clients
expedited
secure and
shipping
use
without
paper
hand
files
carried
and photos.
items, or pickup.
Whether it's
from
important
Memphis to
business
Augusta,
files or
Atlanta,
sentimental family
Athens,
photos and
Charlotte,
videos,
and on
Modern
points
Image
in
is
between.
dedicated to
We've got
helping
the
clients
ability to
solve
get your
problems
software
around
needs to be.
paper.
Whether your passport
Go
is still
Dogs.
on the dresser, your 7-iron isn't in your bag, or you have a dog that hates to fly, Bearcat Express with their live tracking capabilities is the team to turn to. We are the go-to courier in the Southeast. Check us out at bearcatexpress.com.
Thank you, Blair Cook, for being a sponsor. Appreciate you supporting the Owls Who Live Sports. Speaking of the Owls Who Live Sports, we're welcoming back President of the Owl Club, Mr. Rich Hall. Rich, how the heck are you, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, thanks for
coming.
coming back. So last Thursday night when I was at the miserable, and I mean extremely miserable, Georgia Tech-Virginia football game, the Owls Club was meeting, and the purpose of this meeting was to?
It's just a general get-together.
Yeah.
And we talk about all things Owl Club sports.
Yeah.
And KSU sports. We talk about current events. We talked about Conference USA. We talked about some of the other sports, baseball and stuff. It's just a BS session, to be honest with you.
I wish I could have been there because I'm pretty good at that BS part. Would you agree, Robert?
I would.
No, thank you
There's
very
usually
much.
a couple really bad puns involved while he's BSing.
But that's okay. Puns come with BS.
Yes, it does.
So, what is number one? What's your perspective on move to the Conference USA?
I think it's a good move. Might be a little bit premature from being ready as a whole program, but I don't think we had a choice. I think with the way that the colleges are changing and the conferences and everybody's realigning, I think if we didn't do something soon,
You got to get
we
them
would
pretty
have we
quick.
would have been left in the dust.
And I think you're exactly right. You know, we'd have liked 5 more years before we had to jump on the bus, but the bus only pulls up to the bus station one time.
There's
And
a schedule
you got-
for that,
You
yeah.
got to hop on when you get a chance.
Yes.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, the SEC's changing greatly. Pac-12's changed. Every conference, any of the Power Five changed, and now there's talk of the Big 12 joining forces with the ACC and making another super conference. So unless we get involved now, it's get on now or be left behind. The gravy train's going to drive down the track. So when you talked with all the other fans last Thursday night, what was their general perspective? Because I've only had one person who has been a guest on our show before, not this show, but the Owls Who Love Sport. I mean, the Three Guys Who Love Sports show, and he said this is horrible. This is bad news for KSU.
No, I would disagree with that 100%. I think most people, at least the guys and the gals that we were talking, had pretty much the same perspective. It's got to be done. If you don't, you're going to be where
Correct.
you are now or even less. You're not going to get the players because the players are going to follow the bigger leagues and the NIL and the bigger attendance and the
Absolutely.
bigger schools and, quite honestly, TV exposure and all that. You are going to have to make some adjustments internally. Fan base needs to show up. They need to show up in attendance. They need to show up with some donations and some.
And not
dollars.
just at the football games.
Oh, absolutely, in all the sports.
All the
Baseball,
sports.
The basketball, everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody's got to show up. There's got to be a community support. And then I think we all agree that KSU itself's got to make some pretty big adjustments. They're going to have bigger salaries for staff because they're jumping up. They're going to increase with the scholarships. They're going to need to increase their facilities.
Correct.
All those things. And
Yeah.
that's what we've all talked about, how that gets done in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, because all the money that comes with being in a bigger conference, there's a lot more responsibility involved with that and a lot more requirements of you. Like you have to have an average of 15,000 students for over 2 years at
My
football.
understanding was for 2 out of the next 5 years, they have to have 15,000 per
An average
game.
of 15,000
average.
per game. Yeah.
And how many does the stadium hold?
My understanding, it's like a little over 8. They have the ability to get it up to like 10. And I was told that in a call we had with this KSU a couple weeks ago, that the NCAA counts standing room, which
Oh, do they?
helps push up
Sure,
the
sure,
average
sure.
a little bit. There are some levies or fines or whatever there are if you don't hit that.
Is that losing media money or?
I don't really know what it is. My understanding is from listening to the phone conversation with the university athletic department that those fines or levies have never been actually applied.
They can do it.
But they can do it.
They can do it.
So it is an incentive.
So-
But I think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, so when you talk about this expanding from 8 to 10, is that as the current stadium sits now? Because I know they're talking about building in the north end zone, right?
They are. President, on the phone call that I was on, flat out said, until we get more fannies in the seats, we're not going to be talking about any major expansions. So I think that they do have some plans for maybe another 1,500 or 2,000, whatever it is, but they're not talking about anything until they get the fannies.
Not
get
talking
the
about
commitment.
filling in the north end zone yet
Absolutely.
until we get that. So it's our responsibility, not only as we talk about it on the show every week. If you give $500 to Georgia or to Tech or to Bama or TCU, I got to throw them in there because they got a pretty good football team. It's not going to mean much. But if you give it to KSU, either as an NIL participant or just donating to the athletic department, that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people and make you part of the family. You could actually join Rich's Owls Club, and that would make him very happy. So love to be a part of a community that supports its school. And as we've talked about many times, there's 43,000 students at KSU. We now have the largest freshman class in the state, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So why are we not filling the stadium up with 10,000 people? That's what we need to get the word out about. And I think the thought of us joining a larger conference, even though, and I'll tell you, the guy said, he said, we can't even compete in the ASUN. Why are we going to move to the thing? But that's progress. I mean, UCF, when it moved into the big time, the FBS, they weren't good, but they got good pretty quick because they had better facilities. They had a deeper recruiting pocket. And if you can recruit in Florida against Miami and Florida and FSU, you've done a pretty good job of building your program. And that's kind of the way I pattern seeing KSU work, because they're going to be competing more now against the Georgias and the Georgia Techs. Well, sorry, I don't even throw my jackets in there because throw them under the bus too. But there's be more opportunity to get better athletes here at KSU.
Yeah, I think, and just like if you have the athletes, they want to compete against better people.
Sure.
That's how you get better. And as an individual, I can say for myself, I always wanted to play against better people. Even if I got my butt kicked, I learned from it and got to be better. You go down to FIU, which is going to be Conference USA, you're going to get that Miami, you're going to get that South Florida exposure. You're going to draw in a couple more. You want to play better schools. Even if you get kicked the first year or two, you're going to get more exposure. You'll get better players.
Yeah,
In any sport.
Any
yeah.
sport.
I just can't fathom Kennesaw State being in a bowl. That just makes me light up inside. I can't wait to see
It'll
them
be
in a
interesting
bowl
to see
game.
what happens.
Yeah, and it's still a couple of years away. So the football schedule will start in 2024 now.
Yes.
I thought originally it was 25, but it's now 24
2024.
that they joined the conference of July 1st. Is that changed the schedule that they already have for those years, or do you know?
I do not know for 2024. I know next year. I'm pretty sure it's the same. I think Jacksonville State is jumping next year, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, they're
sure.
moving up next year.
Next year,
as opposed
so-
we're doing 24.
And it definitely messes with your schedule because it's done more than 2 years in advance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll play. So we probably won't play Jacksonville State next year.
that could be their extra game.
Yeah, that could be
Could
their
be.
extra game.
Yeah, yeah. But I'd like to see it. I think that's a natural rivalry now.
It
It's
is.
become that, especially the close ball games that we've had against them. And it's good to have that one dead rivalry.
It's a natural rivalry,
Yeah.
too. It's what,
Correct.
an hour and a half.
It's not
at
one
best.
that other people had to create.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's like a Georgia Tech or an Auburn Alabama, very close geographically.
Same level.
Same
as
level.
far as, perception at least for the schools.
Yeah, and it would be nice. I mean, just to be able to try to establish maybe every other year play at Georgia State or Georgia Southern. Or
Well, I know
Mercer.
they're scheduled to play Georgia Southern in 25.
25.
That's kind of what I was asking. I wonder if that's going to get pushed
could.
aside now.
It could be, or that could just be their extra game.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you can't play all conference games. And obviously, in the ASUN, you've only got 6 teams in your conference, so you got a lot of extra games. But when you're in a conference with 9 other schools,
Right.
you have what? 3 extra
Three,
games as
maybe.
opposed to
At least 3 extras.
you got 3 extras. So
and hopefully being in the Conference USA, it'll give Kennesaw State the ability to play maybe a Boston College or a Wake
And
Forest. or,
exactly.
and
Having this game this season where we played Cincinnati,
At
that's
Cincinnati.
going to become the regular, where there's at least one big program at least on the schedule every year.
Yep.
And from what I understand, the money that they get from playing in those games now is going to jump significantly. It went from $400,000, and now once they're in Conference USA, that'll become $1.4 million. Is that right?
That's my understanding. Is
Yeah.
going to jump way up. Yeah. But
So-
remember, if you're going to play somebody smaller than you that's not in FBS, you might be paying them a few bucks. Now.
Absolutely. And
Would that be
once-
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the day, we're talking about all these things that have to be done to all the different arenas and venues. That 1.4 just doesn't go into your pocket. Okay, this is going towards the north end zone upgrade or whatever else. Something I was thinking about, we've been probably all following sports our entire lives. For the first 20 years, I think Arkansas leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC was one of the only times I could remember, wow, this team just changed conferences. But if you think about 20 years ago for this Conference USA, not one of these teams are left. All of those teams, whether it be Memphis, Louisville, Cincinnati, all these teams have made that next jump. So it is the evolutionary,
Process. Yeah, and I think all 3 of those teams are in Conference USA. If I'm not wrong, before the ACC, that's where Georgia Tech was. Weren't they in the Conference USA? I know they were in the Southeastern Conference a long time ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't think
Oh,
they
you're
were.
totally wrong. They are definitely in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they-
Yeah.
Definitely in Southeastern. They were never in the.
I don't think
Conference
Conference
USA?
I don't think Conference USA.
They
was
were in
around
one of the minor ones between the two.
One of the Sun conferences.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but yeah. I know it was with Louisville and Cincinnati because I went to a lot of basketball games that year. But like I said before, I really compare, I don't know if it was with you or with Carrick, but I really compare UCF with Kennesaw and the progress that UCF has made. And, boy, if we jump on like they did,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think you need to get, I don't want to say a generation, but you need to get
do.
5 or 6 years. I mean, if you go to the games now, you see some kids, but those kids need to be 8 years older and be 20 something and come back to the games and go to the tailgates and bring their buddies with them. And their
Correct.
friends.
But it all starts somewhere,
Absolutely.
20 years ago, 8-year-olds weren't walking around with KSU. Now, if you catch Garrett out in public, he's got the kids dressed up. It's a process. But my thing about the teams that used to be in Conference USA is 20 years ago we kind of used to look at them and go, it's Memphis and Louisville, Central Florida. We don't feel that way about them anymore.
No, we do not.
They have left Conference USA. They have leapfrogged again, and now all of a sudden. So I think that is the same pattern that we're getting ready to see. People might look at Conference USA in a few years and go, "Well, that's not the Conference USA there used to be." Well, don't worry, this one's not going to be around very long either because we're gonna jump
It'll
ship with
evolve.
this one.
Yeah, and it's funny, but I think KSU's making one of the bigger jumps than any team has
Huge.
ever done. I mean, it
Absolutely.
is huge. It's not like moving from It's not like moving from the Big 12 to the SEC. This is like going from Pony League.
This is 7
the World
years.
Series.
Once
Yeah.
again, 7 years. If you'd have thrown out 8 years ago, well, we're going to try our luck for 7 years. Then we're just going Conference USA. 7 years ago, the teams in Conference USA were still, probably Memphis and Cincinnati. You'd have been like, what are you talking about? How is that going to transpire? But it did.
It really did. And it's funny, my friend that says this is a bad move just doesn't get it because, the women's volleyball team is 35th in the country. Yeah. It's not just about football. It's not just about the attendance of the school. It's a huge college, and they need to be a part of these bigger things.
Yeah.
And I think the other sports are going to benefit even more than football.
Yeah, I can see baseball right off the bat.
Sure.
Drastically getting better players. I think they've got a nice program now.
Correct.
They
Ryan
did a hell of
Coe's done a good
this year,
job, yeah.
for sure. But I can see them elevating a little bit, playing some better ball, better programs. They'll do well right off the bat.
And one thing I've noticed while we've been going over KSU sports each week as far as what's happened in the last week, for instance, this past week, Cameron Nielsen shot a 4-under for the girls' golf team, paced them up to their second place finish. She's from Switzerland. This is, she's not from Douglasville. She played in Switzerland, then she played in Ireland, and there's so many other girls that we've seen where, where's she from? She's from Fiji. She's from here. So I think when we take that next level, if you're already getting that many foreign-born players into your programs, it's going to go even higher.
And we had a football player from Cameroon or something.
That's good. Nana Fabu.
Nana Fabu. There you go. Yeah.
I try to remember.
So that was good. But and you made a point, Robert, in the other show about KSU, about the girls being number 2. But name the other colleges that were in that tournament. It's not like it's
Louisville, Indiana, Notre Dame, Santa Clara, Cincinnati.
So they're not competing against junior colleges around the country.
Correct.
They're competing against Power 5 schools and coming in second. So
in women's golf, which once again, it's one thing for us to be sitting here talking about KSU football, which there's never been a program 7 years old that has the credentials we do. Nobody's ever going to have that winning
or
percentage
success,
or any.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
but it's women's golf. How did they get good? You're wondering, how were they able to go out and get these blue chips from Switzerland or anywhere else? They're there.
It's the coaching, and almost every one of the players that we've interviewed say, why KSU? And then you got Coach Klein and Coach Klein. And
Coach this, coach that.
It's always about the coaches.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm here. And they said, this is why I want to come to KSU. And we asked them, why should people come? And it's the same thing. It's the coaches. It's the experience. Atlanta is the third largest city in the country, or fourth? Chicago, New York,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
and Atlanta, but pretty huge. It might be sixth.
Nowhere close, but okay.
It is close because Houston's seventh, and I know we're bigger than seventh.
No, it's about the 40th biggest city in America, and if you want to call us the metropolitan
I'm talking
area,
about the metropolitan
we're
area.
about ninth.
Yeah. Well, I thought Houston's seventh.
I
and
memorized
we were
the
bigger than
almanac
Houston.
in my spare time.
All right,
sorry.
I'm going to look at it, but we'll back this next week. But my whole point is, this is a major metropolitan
Huge.
area, and
Huge.
it should be a large draw from, and that's why people from Cameroon and people from Switzerland want to come here. They come and they visit Atlanta, and they say, "Wow, this is really a cool city." And the
Agreed.
cool thing about being at KSU is, you're not in Atlanta, but you have access to Atlanta.
You have access to all the cool stuff from Atlanta if you choose to.
if you choose to. That's right.
And you're absolutely right. When you look at the makeup of the new Conference USA, it's a team from Charlotte. Okay?
Can you pull
Big-
the team up, Robert?
Which team?
The new Conference USA.
I do not know that I have it
Okay.
available on this.
Because I know some of the teams. I don't know all
Well,
teams.
but you have Charlotte, you have
Western
FIA,
Kentucky.
but I'm just talking big cities. So
Oh.
you've got Nashville covered, you've got Charlotte covered, you got Birmingham covered, you got Atlanta covered, you got Miami covered. So even though they might not be those prototypical programs that you might think of in some of those cities, they are those cities. And the one thing that hasn't gotten mentioned yet, games are going to be televised.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, Conference USA, this is going to be a package deal. This isn't going to be, hey, who's your internet provider and how much do you want to pay to watch this game on the internet? There's going to be, the USA, game of the week.
They'll
That's
be
going
on
to be
here.
fun.
First Thursday night game at KSU. I want to be at that. Thursday night. Like I said, I went to the Georgia Tech game it's Thursday night, and even though they got hammered, what an atmosphere there. I mean, just to be in that big stadium and the band, and I mean, it was just crazy, all the theatrics that they did during timeouts and
How
stuff.
about our band, though? Our band's been kicking.
Oh, they have. yeah.
Absolutely.
They're really,
Yeah.
really good this year.
But, I mean, Tech had this guy that was on the field during every timeout talking to people and all. I thought that would really be a cool thing to do. And I want to see that experience happen at Kennesaw State at Fifth Third Bank Stadium.
And it will.
I know.
Yeah, I think it will, too. It'll take some time, but I think it will.
Yeah, I think, Rich, you're totally right. It's going to take 6 or 7 years. But the more and more you see people out wearing KSU stuff, and the more and more you hear Kennesaw State Owls. And I think it's kind of odd that out of 10 teams, there are going to be 3 Owls in the
that's
conference.
just really weird.
Yeah, FIU and Rice and KSU. So,
There's another one, Rice. So that's a huge market.
yeah, Houston. Not as big as Atlanta, but it's a huge market.
Bigger city than Atlanta. Technically, just for the record, when you go home, we go New York, L.A., Chicago, Houston, Dallas, Miami. Top 6 in a row.
I'm going
Rice
to
is
check.
leaving.
Rice is leaving Conference USA,
That's all right. We didn't want them anyway.
so they won't be All-American.
Oh, Lord.
So we're going to get an All-American athlete.
We'll do a little more traveling because New Mexico State's
Is it New Mexico
is
State?
going to be part of
Right.
the New 10.
Are they the Lobos or is that
UTEP
New
will
Mexico?
be part of the
UTEP,
10.
yeah, the
Liberty.
minors.
So
Yeah,
we'll be
UTEP.
bouncing a lot.
The UTEP two-step.
the UTEP two-step. So that's a lot. That's a lot of good traveling.
Yeah.
and a lot of fun places for people to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is another way that you get the exposure. When you're only going to cities that you've never heard of, that don't have a lot of TV stations.
Like Jacksonville.
It's hard to, but you start making your way across the country. People start paying attention. So I think that's going to be huge.
In Louisiana Tech, that's Conference USA.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's some big programs that you are seeing now on TV that we will be playing, and we will be playing these people on TV in 2 years. And that's, to me, that's just more
That's awesome.
exciting than anything else I could think of.
Yeah. And there's a couple good ones like Western Kentucky's
The Hilltop.
a solid drive.
Yeah.
Bowling Green, you get
Yep.
to drive up to Bowling Green. You can go to the Corvette Museum where they had the cave. Did you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
So all Corvettes are made in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and right across the street is the Corvette Museum. And because all of Kentucky is basically built on top of a cave, they had a cave-in at the museum.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
So,
Yeah.
so all these cars fell in there, and if you go there, it's really cool because they didn't even clean the cars. So it's like the 5 millionth Corvette ever produced, and it should be this just mint, perfect car,
Pristine.
and it's not. It's got dirt. The windshield wipers all bent up. It's a really cool drive.
So they're basically now in a cave.
I knew there was a pun coming. I could just see it in his eyes.
That's
It was
pretty
like-
batty.
Thank you.
So, the Corvette Cave.
Corvette Cave, but that's just one thing that you'll see when you go to Bowling Green to watch the Owls kick some booty.
Yeah, I will miss them playing Austin P because I like to make fun of Let's Go P. But other than that, I'm very excited about Conference USA.
Well, maybe we'll pay Austin P to come and play us.
We'll pay P to play us?
Pay P.
We'll pay P. That'll be great.
Pay P to
They've got those
Hey,
toilets
Bob?
at the airport. Pay Ps, don't they?
no flush anymore.
Keep in mind, there's only 10 right now. There's only 10 scheduled for 2024.
For the conference.
So they may add a couple more.
They-
Sure, and they probably will.
And they probably would. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's somebody else that's leaving Conference USA, too, before we get there.
Yeah.
But I think there will be 10 teams in Conference USA by the time we get there in 2 years.
But once again,
It's not even 2 years.
It's an evolutionary thing where everything keeps getting better, and everybody keeps talking about the super conferences and how there's only going to be 5. Well, guess what? We'll probably be one of those 5 at some point.
Yeah.
That's,
Be a
that's,
part
that's
of
where
one
it's
of those,
going.
yeah.
That's where it's going.
So, as I told Carrick earlier, a bigger and better KSU is what we're looking for and looking at because it's going to happen. Whether you want to be a part of it or not, it's going to happen. It's your choice. You need to be a fan. You need to get on board with these football players, with these volleyball women, with the golf team, with cross country, with tennis, baseball. There's so many good things going on at KSU, and if you don't know about it, you need to read and get involved. And we would love to help you here at the Owls Who Live Sports or the Owl Show. You can always text us at 470-9-GO-OWLS, 470-9-GO-OWLS. We would love to help you get involved, and I'm sure Rich, for a measly cost of $10, would love for you to join the Owls Club as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a lot of extra people at the meeting last week after we plugged it on the show on Wednesday.
Yeah,
wasn't
there were a few more. Yep, for sure.
Hundreds. They couldn't even hold them here at Miller.
Sean was out in the parking lot parking people, just trying to get.
Sean valets in his spare time. Yeah, he likes that. So.
He also does one of those beard moisturizers and conditioners. You know?
Beard moisturizer. Sean could sell that. Yeah, and maybe some wax to shave his head, to comb his head. Yeah, so that would be great. Well, Rich, we thank you for being on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, always welcome back anytime. We'd love to have you.
I'll take you up on that for sure.
And keep us posted on
we're
what's
counting
going
on
on.
it.
Yeah, we'll be back on the next. Be back to the next Owls Club meeting. I just very rarely get to go to a Tech game, and I had an opportunity. So,
Okay, good deal.
hooty
Thank
you, my friend.
Steve.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
Thanks,
a lot, guys.
Rich.
Appreciate it.
So let's get our last commercial in for the day, Mr. Robert.
Last commercial of the day.
That would be Modern Image.
Modern Image is a locally owned document and photograph scanning company that helps clients secure and use paper files and photos.
Modern
Whether it's
Image is a
for
locally
business
owned
files or
document and
sentimental
photograph
family
scanning
photos and
company that
videos,
helps clients
Modern Image
secure
is
and use
dedicated
paper
to
files and
helping clients
photos.
solve problems
Whether it's
around
important
paper.
business files or
Go
sentimental family
Dogs.
photos and
And
videos,
And Owls.
Modern Image is
Hooty hoo. Hooty hoo to Rich Hall for being on the show today. We appreciate Rich coming out and being a part of it. We appreciate Garrett and Carrick. Garrett and Carrick, that's a pair, isn't it? For being with us tonight,
Boy, is
too.
it a pair.
And Larry, the engineer. Yeah, we were
And-
talking about a pair earlier, but
I'm
that's
just gonna
a different
say,
pair.
I know there's a few million people at home watching, and I just want to reach out to them and say, if Kennesaw State's ever coming to your town and you see a couple guys named Carrick and Garrett walking your way, just move off that sidewalk.
And let's throw in Will Renfro, too, because Will's not here this week. His daughter's getting married this Saturday, but Will's a frequent visitor to the show.
His name just doesn't rhyme. That's why I didn't use it.
Garrett and Carrick.
Yeah, Will Renfro doesn't.
Yeah. Well, Garrett and Carrick should be like a comic strip or something. That sounds like a good name for a comic
Well, I
strip.
think it is a comic strip.
Just not published, but it is a good comic strip. So we got a couple of things left to do, Robert. We've got to talk about what's coming up this week at KSU, and we also have our trip around a. I love your face, and you gotta have to help because Will's not here this week to laugh at Chuck's Chumps. So,
I'm gonna do this deadpan for you. It's gonna be good.
so what you want to do first? You want to do the trip around the sun, or do you want to talk about what's going on?
Let's go. What's going on next week?
All right. So there are a lot of good things going on. We're reaching the end of the season in some games, in some sports. So this week, I know the soccer team starts the ASUN Conference Tournament on 27th, which is tomorrow, against Eastern Kentucky in Lynchburg, Virginia. The 28th, which is Friday, the volleyball team plays Stetson here. The 29th, the men's and women's cross-country team are at the ASUN Championships in Huntsville, Alabama. And the Rocket Town. Yeah, they still have a NASA camp or something up there, don't they?
Yep. That's where the Rockets were developed.
Yep. And men's golf team is at Grandover Collegiate in Greensboro, North Carolina. And, of course, the big thing is we've got the Charleston Southern Buccaneers coming to town this Saturday at 1 o'clock to play the Mighty Owls at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Big W coming up for the Owls this weekend.
Ooh, there's a sneak view into
Chuck's Chumps.
Chumps.
Yeah. And also, let me remind you that the exhibition baseball team is going to be playing the exhibition game at Georgia Tech with the KSU Owls. It was scheduled for Sunday at 1. It has now been moved up because of a pending storm coming through town with 83% chance of rain. On Sunday, that game will now be played on Friday night at 6. Is that right, Garrett? Garrett, are they shaking their head? Friday night at 6? Friday night at 6, the Georgia Tech baseball team takes on the Bees.
And, it's easy to do that because if it only rains once every 3 weeks wherever you're living, then, you can move these dates.
That's true. So, yeah, especially this time of year where you get very little rain. So the Kennesaw Owls visit the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets Friday night at 6 for some exhibition baseball. They lost at FSU the other day, but as our friend Austin Upshaw, who was our guest last week, told us, they got all the kinks out, and this week they're ready to rock and roll against the Jackets. So hooty hoo and go Owls at Georgia Tech on Friday night.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. It's time for the most painful 10 minutes in sports.
It's a big one, Elizabeth.
This is
I'm
worse.
coming
This
to
is
join you,
worse.
honey.
This is worse than like on
This is as bad
the
as it
thrill
gets
of
for me.
agony. No, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, where the guy goes off the slide at the end of Wide World of Sports.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what this is like for you, isn't it?
That's what I feel like. I feel like that guy. Only when I left the chute, I only had one ski, and I was blind in both eyes.
Well, the good news is,
Like Moshe Dayan.
you know, we've had as many as 6 games in the ASUN in the conference when we weren't playing any conference games
But this
yet.
week we only have.
And we've had as few as 3, or maybe even 2 one week. So it's a happy medium this year. It's only 4 this week. So we have 4 games. Can you tolerate 4?
I don't have a choice, Chuck.
You're right. All right, so here we go with Chuck's Chumps for the week of October the 29th. All right, first game, Eastern Kentucky Colonels at the Southeast Missouri State Redhawks.
I'm going to say you're going Colonels because you love Colonels and Majors and all sorts of things like that.
You think I'm going for the Colonels as the loss?
I'll go with a bird.
You going with as the loss or the win?
Chuck, nobody's.
Nobody
I-
picks
I-
losers like me. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, that's what I was going with. That's what I was going with.
So you're picking on
I'm taking the Hawks to win.
you're taking the Hawks to win. Funny you should say that because I thought about you when I was writing this Chuck's Chumps because you always talk about the directional schools, right?
I do
That you
love
have issues
directional
with
schools.
directional schools. So Eastern Kentucky Colonels versus Southeast Missouri State Redhawks. The Colonels travel west to meet Southeast Missouri State. This 6-1 Red Sox team haven't lost since their opening game at Iowa State, 42-10. They have beaten Central Arkansas, Southern Illinois, and Northwestern State. It seems they are not directionally challenged. The Colonels are 1-2 on the road. Make it 1-3. Chuck's Chump, Eastern Kentucky Colonels.
1 for 1.
So we're in agreement on that one.
We're in agreement.
Okay, number 2, Jacksonville State Gamecocks at the Austin P Governors.
Once again, you like anything that has colonel, major, or governor. So I'm calling governor is your chump.
You think Governors is my chump?
I think that's going to be the case.
All right, let's go and see. Jackson State Gamecocks versus the Austin P Governors. The Gamecocks took one on the chin last week at home, and their feathers are all ruffled. This week they take the last train to Clarksville to face the Governors of Austin P. And if they monkey around again, they could lose again. I'm a believer in the home field advantage. Austin P has not lost at home this year, and the streak will continue. Let's go P. Chuck's Chump, Jacksonville State.
You know, Davy Jones just said, I'm jumping in front of the last train from Clarksville. I don't want to ride it. I just want it to take me out.
Is he saying I'm not your stepping stone? Is that what he is? Valerie would say that, but I love that song. That's one of my favorite monkey songs. All right, North Alabama Lions at the Central Arkansas Bears.
Oh, I bet you won't do anything like Lions and Bears on my on this.
I bet you're wrong.
Dang, I can't get anything right.
I didn't bring in the Tigers, but I did talk about the Lions and Bears.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Boy, who are you picking?
My prediction was that you wouldn't do that.
Oh.
Actually, it was that he would.
All right, well, there you go. Then you got that one right. The 1-6 Lions versus the 3-4 Bears. Oh, my. The Bears were on hibernation last week while the Lions were running all over the field, scoring 53 points and still losing. A week's rest will help the Bears. And my Goldilocks of the week, give me the Bears. Chuck's Chump, North Alabama Lions.
And, you know.
You like that Goldilocks of the week?
No, the best part of it always is when you start laughing because you're cracking yourself up. Because everybody else has just got like, close your jaw because, the flies are going to get in.
I have no life, Robert, so I have time to do these things. You know that. So the last game of the week is obviously the KSU Owls hosting the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. And I came all way to stuff for Buccaneers, but I pretty much let it go. I'll tell you later what I wanted to say.
Well, I think
there's an old joke about that. Yeah.
Well, I lived in Charleston for about a year. And,
Oh, did you?
I did, and I got nothing to say that's good for them. So I'll go the Owls.
To pick them to win, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
Always
I
to
said,
win.
Will or them always told me that when they went to Charleston Southern, and Carrick even confirmed this, that they got pelted with vehement words from the stands, and just wasn't a very nice place to be. But I'm sure the KSU Owls
What
and
kind of words?
vehement.
I don't think anybody from Charleston Southern knows what that word is.
All right, mean. How's that?
Oh.
Venomous. It could have been venomous. There could have been a
I
lot
didn't
of
say
things.
I didn't. I just said they did.
Okay, good. All right. So, obviously, the Owls are coming off another overtime game, their third one of the year. They have played more football than anyone else in the country. The Buccaneers can't stay close enough to go to an overtime, no matter how much they shiver their timbers. They will not score any booty this week at Fifth Third Bank Stadium, and will walk the plank again. Chuck's Chump, Charleston Southern Buccaneers.
That was great.
All right, so Robert, we've got a couple of minutes. How can we wrap up this show? We got 4 minutes left. What do you want to say? What are your feelings about Conference USA?
You know, like I said while we had our guest on, I really think if you go back 20 years and you see the teams that were in Conference USA, you made fun of them 20 years ago because you think, well, you know, you're not this school or that school. You don't make fun of any of them anymore. Those schools have all become part of the national standard.
And UCF was part of that Conference USA at one point right now.
Absolutely.
And they declared themselves national champions just 2 years ago when they were undefeated, right? They had their own parade.
Hey, you know, if nobody else will throw you a parade or laugh at your jokes, you should do it. I mean, you know where I'm coming from.
I'm afraid I do. Yeah. So I would love to see Kennesaw State in a couple of years be 11-0 or 12-0 and have their own parade.
Yeah.
Because as long as Alabama and Clemson and the other guys are around, we're not going to get to the Final Four, even if it's undefeated.
That's until we start bringing the NIL money.
There you go, bringing in that NIL money. As we always talk about, if you could give $500 to the KSU program, it's a fabulous thing. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, they don't care. But we care here at KSU, and if you want to be a part of our family, you need to jump aboard this gravy train while it's still rolling, because we're about to look at a bigger and better KSU coming up in 2 short years. So come be a part of the show. We'd love to have you on the show. 470-9-GO-OWLS if you want to be a part of the Owls Who Live Sports.
Larry is waiting for you to call now.
Larry is waiting for me to call now. Larry the engineer. Larry the engineer has the phone right by his ear. He is ready for people to call. So until then, we wish the Owls luck on Saturday and Friday night at the baseball game and all the other sporting events coming up. Volleyball, soccer in the conference tournaments, and the cross-country team as well over in, what you call it, Rocket City?
Rocket City, USA.
Huntsville, Alabama. So until next week, we'll see you next Wednesday night at 7 right here at the lovely Miller's Ale House with Charlie and Bailey and Sean the bartender. Until then, hooty hoo.